indie cartoons have been on the rise as of lately. Many have seen success, some not as much. I want to talk about 5 indie cartoon pilots I think you should watch. For the most part, these shows have pulled respectable numbers in viewership, but I don't feel they get enough discussion, and I want to make sure people are aware so they can help guarantee more success. I'm going to briefly go over each pilot's plot without spoiling too much, and explain why I think they're worthy watching. Although I think they're all worthy watching, just from all the hard work that's gone into them so far. Without further ado, let's check these pilots out. The first pilot we've got today is called Spice Frontier, a sci-fi adventure series starring a group better known as the crew of the Serrano, who work and travel around the galaxy to help Kent fulfill his dream of opening a restaurant one day. In the pilot, the crew crash lands on a planet in search of an oasis. While the ship is being repaired, others investigate the planet for hostiles and the oasis. They run into some trouble with the local species and find themselves in a bind on what to do in a short amount of time. The pilot ends on a cliffhanger but leaves you wanting so much more. Each member of the crew is just dripping with personality. As I mentioned, Kentucky Williams, better known as Kent, is an optimistic and caring guy whose dream is to bring back Earth food and delicacies to the galaxy. Centuries after Earth has been destroyed, now he seeks to find ingredients as close as possible to Earth's, starting a farm and a restaurant and share it with everyone, so they can all bond together over food. A big dream for just one human, but that's where the rest of the crew comes in. There's Eloy, who's actually over 400 years old enough to actually have lived on Earth before its destruction. He started the crew with Kent to help him on his dream because he remembers Earth cuisine and misses it himself. He's the mechanic and engineer of the Serrano and doesn't seem to care much about what others think of the crew he's with. There's Sela, a cyborg made of an indestructible metal. She's intelligent and agile and looks out for every member of the crew without hesitation. She's one of the main forces of the crew when trouble finds its way. We've got Ada Olean, the newest member of the crew and an ethnobotanist. She comes off as optimistic, loving the time she's spent traveling to different planets since she's joined the crew, and loves every plant she comes across. Her appearance might make her seem naive, but she gets serious when the time calls for it, and is a sharpshooter when needed. Another member, Maud Ari Magdalena, or just Maud, is the tech specialist of the crew. She can hack and learn information about almost anything when needed, usually write about situations, and tends to give sass when she doesn't have the time for the research. And last we have Nexus, a mechanoid bodyguard who protects every one of the crew members when danger lurks. Nexus doesn't speak to anyone aside from Sela in some robotic language, but remains loyal to a fault, and would without a doubt die to protect the crew. This crew of misfit people works together because they believe in Kent's dream. Like I mentioned, each character has such an outgoing personality, which is helped by each of their voice actors giving it their all. The creator of Spice Frontier is Jalil Sadul, who has over 20 years of film experience working on animations such as Rise of the Guardians and How to Train Your Dragon 2. He co-founded the company Steamroller Animation in 2014 and is currently their chief creative officer. They've been trying to push Spice Frontier for a while now, starting with a short and now a full-on pilot. The animation, being from a full-fledged studio, is high quality, with great character designs and well-detailed environments. They plan on making much more, and I'm sure they need more support. They appear to have a merch store, but nothing from Spice Frontier specifically, that I've seen. Hopefully that changes soon. It seems for now, all we can do is watch the pilot over and over again. Also, if the pilot wasn't enough for you and you want more instantly, there is a digital book for more lore available to read on their site. Honestly, one of my favorite pilots I've seen on YouTube, and I hope to see more soon. The second pilot we have is called Port by the Sea, about a duo named Port and Umi, along with their pet crab named Jolly Roger, as they attempt to find fallen pieces of the broken moon before a deity floods the world's ocean. The pilot follows Port and Umi trying to get away from a sea monster, as Umi uses Jolly Roger to fend off the monster, which allows them to escape, but their boat gets wrecked. They head to town to seek a repairman and find out there's a man in the town's lighthouse who might be able to help them. He agrees to fix their boat in exchange for a favor, finding something for him. I don't want to say too much more, but it plays out like a typical episode would. Like me to cast the characters to help while searching for clues for the moon pieces, and sailing around as weirder and weirder things happen. Port is a happy-go-lucky guy who always stays by his crab Jolly Roger's side. He can get distracted easily, but does everything he can. Omi is tough but usually fair, and just wants to get in and out of the situation as fast as possible. She and Port may not always get along, but they stay by each other's side, especially when the going gets tough. I like the mystery they've set up in this world. Each of the characters implies something deeper. Some may be hiding more than others, as they retrieve one piece of the moon at a time. The animation feels very melancholy, in the best way possible, like how it would feel being in a real town by the sea. I think the story has many good prospects, which I'm sure can only improve if more is made. The pilot was created by Jordan Whitman, who also created the show Nomad of Nowhere, so he already has experience in show development. If you want to support the show, there's a Port by the Sea website which leads to Jordan's Ko-fi, where you can leave a tip or buy a digital goodie bag which includes art from the pilot, desktop, and mobile wallpapers, among other things. With good support, I hope the story of Port by the Sea can continue. The next pilot I want to talk about is called Mech West. Set in an alternate world with very few distinct nations during Western times, where technology has progressed differently and is used for everyone's daily lives, but specific to their era. The pilot follows Pearl, an energetic person who cares a lot about mechs, especially when others don't treat them well. We also meet a small mech who we come to know as Six. Six ends up getting lost and finds a small town where he meets Pearl. They bond and soon finds out that Six is different from the other mechs around town, with certain people looking for him. The series from its first episode alone is filled with other interesting characters, both good and bad, in an intriguing world they've built. The animation is pretty good and kinda different from a lot of series I've seen, yet familiar. The creators of Mech West are David and Noah Gallagher. David is also the founder of Anim School, an animation school and studio whose videos you may have seen around before. Their team had a successful Kickstarter to fund the next episode, and the series has continued since then. As of this video, there are 3 episodes with more on the way, and the story continues to advance with each episode. I'm certainly engaged with what's going on in this series so far. The animation stays pretty consistent, and the mech designs are for the most part pretty unique to one another. It's got a lot of charm with the characters, and while they can feel cliche at times, they still work with what the show's trying to do. I'll keep eagerly waiting for the next episode, wondering what will happen next. The following pilot is Pretty Pretty Please, I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl, starring a girl named Aika who is starting her first day at a normal school, which has always been something she's wanted. Despite only wanting to go to school, her past catches up with her star companion, Hoshi, finds her and reminds her of her responsibilities, but she's not having it. From there, she meets another student at the school named Zira, who becomes her first ever friend in her new life. But once again, her past catches up with her, and it's revealed that Aika is secretly a magical girl, now forced to fend off evil while trying to live a normal life she's always dreamed of. Aika is a kind and charismatic individual who, like I mentioned, just wants to live a normal life, but everything seems to get in the way of that, despite being the best at her job. It's just something she doesn't want anymore. Zira is an introverted person who doesn't seem to have any friends until Aika comes along. Aika lights up her world, and even more so after Zira finds out that Aika is a magical girl, especially since Zira is a huge fan of the genre. Other characters we've seen so far include some villains we don't know much about, but they seem promising and I'm sure will only get better as more is made. The animation isn't fully animated, it's mainly an animatic, with the exception of one scene, and it's definitely the best scene of the pilot. The characters we've seen are a lot of fun, and while the plot may seem like the typical magical girl show, I'm sure it could be flipped on its head, especially since this one seems to want to do the opposite by not wanting to be a magical girl in the first place. The pilot was created by Kiana Cansmith, who's done notable work on Big City Greens. She's written, storyboarded, and directed a few episodes, so you can tell she knows what she's doing with this pilot, and I'm sure it'll only improve in time. She does have more plans for more episodes, but since she's independent, it will take some time. Hopefully we'll see more of this show very soon.
Leave her house on the Outlands.
Our last pilot today is called House on the Outlands, following a girl named Harmony and her mom, who just recently moved into a house on the outskirts of town. But there's a lot of strange things about this house and the area. Harmony gains supernatural powers, and with them she defends her home from the forces of evil, most from another world. Alongside her, she's aided by her beowulf to make things a bit easier, And that's the usual for Harmony. Harmony doesn't want anything to do with these forces or her powers, but steps up when the time calls for it, usually when it means protecting her mom. As time goes on, she learns how to control her powers and tries to find a way to stop the forces for good. The animation, I think, is very good. It's got some good gothic horror inspiration to it, and the coloring fits so well with the vibe they're going for. The animation in motion is smooth and has great action. The only thing I'd say is that I don't like that each episode is only about a minute and a half long, and 20 seconds of that is the intro, so it's really about a minute per episode. Not that it's a bad thing, far from it, because the intro is great, but you do wish for longer and more in-depth episodes. The creators of House on the Outlands are Danny Rabashkin and Natalia Payekin, who have also co-written each episode. Currently, there are a total of 6 episodes, all around the same length, but the story progresses more and more. The creators have expressed their desire to make more and longer episodes, but we just need to keep watching as viewers. So if you like this series, just keep watching if you want to see more of it. And those were 5 cartoon indie pilots that I personally think everyone should watch, from smaller projects to bigger and more ambitious ones. I think all indie cartoons deserve a chance, but these specific 5 I've talked about are ones that have stood out to me in recent memory, all ranging in individuality in their storytelling and animation. I hope they all get to make the projects they want, and more. If you haven't watched any of these yourself, I highly encourage you to. And if you've seen any of these shows before, let me know what you think of them. Do they deserve more, or should they be left the way they are?